Dark and Darker is a PvP extraction battle royale developed by Iron Mace Games. The game itself seems to draw a lot of inspiration from Dungeons and Dragons, and I can speak from experience that the game genuinely feels quite like that inexperienced party running into their dungeon the first time they pick up that game. And it's obviously taken some inspiration from Escape from Tarkov, considering it's an extraction shooter essentially. To explain the game quickly, you spawn into this dungeon, right? And your objective is to get as much loot as you can. This can be weapons, jewelry, chalices, and just straight up gold. Once you have your pockets filled, you want to make your way to a blue portal. There's only a certain amount of blue portals, so that means players often fight over them in order to escape, because if you don't use the blue portal to escape, you die. Once you get out of the game through the blue portal, you can sell your items to get gold, and use said gold to buy more gear so that you're stronger the next time you go into the dungeon. Now the loop is obviously, kept fresh with PvP elements to the game, and the fact that there's 6 classes to choose from really does keep things quite fresh. So as I said, there's 6 characters in this game. First, the Barbarian. He's a frontline brawler character. He's got the highest HP in the game, but he's also got the weakest legs because he doesn't really run quite quick. When you're first starting out, this is definitely going to be the hardest hitting melee character, but he does have a lot of weaknesses. Because of his slowness, he's able to get kited by wizards, rangers, and even rogues who have no melee range at all, but they can still just run in and out of the Barbarian's slow swings. So he's best played with a support class like the wizard or cleric, who can speed him up and heal him when he needs it accordingly. So the ranger is exactly what you'd think he'd be. He's a guy with a bow. He excels at guerrilla warfare because of his bear traps that he can use to put in between doors and trap people for several seconds before they can even do anything at all, in which case you can headshot them 3 times and they crumple to the ground. The traps are fairly situational, but that doesn't even matter because the ranger is the second fastest character in the game, so he can simply just kite every single character by just running, shooting, and then running some more, and then shooting some more. The fact that you are ranged means that you don't need to get anywhere close to the enemies, and once you do, it doesn't matter because the ranger can also carry a sword, so he's capable of defending himself in melee combat. The wizard, he claims to be the most versatile character in the game, which is actually straight up true, because he has multiple types of projectiles, multiple types of spells that do damage and buff your allies and enemies accordingly. But there is a few downsides. See, the wizard can't really defend himself when someone gets close to him, and he is very low HP. Friendly fire is actually quite a big problem. The fireball and the magic missile are his 2 ranged abilities. One homes in, and the other is a massive AoE hit. So if you hit the wall and your ally is fighting that person, he's going to take damage too. And I've experienced this firsthand, and it's not very great when you're rushing to defend the wizard and then he shoots a fireball in the back of your head. Luke. So there's a relatively high difficulty ceiling with the character, but that being said, he is definitely the one who is capable of dishing out the highest amount of damage in the shortest amount of time. That number being monstrous compared to the other characters. Now, the cleric is much like the warrior in the fact that he's able to use a single-handed weapon and a shield, so he's capable of fighting and defending himself fairly well as long as the player is comparable enough. Not to mention the fact that the cleric is capable of healing allies and himself, and not to mention he's also able to AoE damage all undead enemies within the vicinity. So he's good at ad control, and he is amazing in team fights, being able to keep your allies alive through hit, simply by just casting your little wand in the back. And then also capable of being able to take the front line if you need to defend a wizard or a ranger. Now the rogue is, without any question, is the rattiest character in the game. Sure, the bow boy's got his bear trap, but you're capable of going invisible on the rogue, capable of pickpocketing people around you on the rogue, capable of stabbing someone, hitting them with double bleed, and simply walking away as they slowly try to catch up to you, the fastest character in the game, and just perishing. The rogue does insane backstab damage and is capable of just fleeing from every single crime scene that they jab their little knife into. So what I've said, you think that the rogue is probably the strongest character with this. It's just not true. See, there's a character that is capable of catching up to the rogue, is capable of self-healing like the cleric, is capable of dishing out the highest amount of melee damage like the barbarian. It's the warrior, the fighter, the basic boy. Running the warrior, my loadout, what I would take is a normal sword or mace, whatever I can get, and a shield. But that's only for defense. See, if you take this spear, you outrange everything in the game, in terms of melee of course, and 2 shots to the head kills basically every single character in the game. It is ludicrously broken, the fact that you're able to hide behind your shield to simply then chase down any enemy you want for free. It's just crazy. This guy's capable of dishing out immense amounts of damage. I've cleaned through teams after teams solo with this guy because it's just so much damage. And he's so fast. There's no running from him. Your only hope from running away from a fighter is to close a door behind you, because fighters take 60 years to open a chest or close a door. Now, the flea market is, well, it's really jank. See, the flea market in the game I brought up earlier, Escape from Tarkov, is simple. You search the item you want, you see the items there, and you buy the item. If you're selling the item, you go into your stash, you click sell item, you set the price, boom, it's up there, someone can buy it. In this game, it's like RuneScape. You have to type out a command in order to sell the item, and then if someone doesn't see your message in this chat box that goes faster than Twitch, then you don't get to sell the item and no one buys it. So basically, if you don't sell the item for a ridiculously low margin of profit, if any profit at all, no one's gonna buy it. It's fine if you have loads of money and you want to buy something, because then you simply sit there for 5 seconds and see the items. But I've never been able to sell anything on that thing at all. So it's stinky, it's poo-poo, they better fix it. Now there's 3 dungeons to explore, one which is solo and the other 2 that are up to 3 players. The solo dungeon is called the Goblin Cave. Honestly, cooler than the main dungeon, because the setting of the main dungeon is very samey. It's all bricks and it's just the same thing all over the place. You know, it's a labyrinth for sure, and that element of it is cool because there's cracks in the walls and you pull a switch and it turns out you can come through this little hole and there's spikes stabbing you if you're not looking around carefully enough. But in the Goblin Cave, there's a large mix of massive open areas. Sure, there's cramped areas just like the main game. There's just something about it that feels more natural and more comfortable to me. I don't know. Now, the enemy roster is also different from the main game, which we'll talk about in a minute. But in the Goblin Caves, you're set up with just, well, they're goblins. Now, the reason why I talked about the fighter so much is because, well, he's really good in the Goblin Cave, and not many other people are. Well, if one of the goblins with a sword hits you, you're left on like 1/5 of your HP. The initial impact does half your HP, and then all the daggers are poisoned, and it just trickles down to about 1/5 of your HP. Everyone in there is actually really friendly. You walk up, you turn your mic on and you say, Amogus, and then they're like, yes, let's be friendly. And you walk together until the very end. There's one portal. And oftentimes, one of you will be like, you know what, I don't got that much. Go for it, king. I never really did that. People would be like, yo, I got you, bro, and they'd stop dropping their stuff, and I'd stab them twice in the face with the spear, because I want the XP for killing them, and I also want the loot. So, you know, the transaction was gonna be the same way anyway, so why don't I just give you a little jab for me? Needless to say, I actually love this game a whole heck of a lot. I much prefer it to Tarkov. I've played a lot of Tarkov, I would know. I just love the gameplay of this game. I know a lot of people say it's super slow and it's super tedious. It's not at all. Have some goddamn patience, you know? I understand these Fortnite and COD players coming in. The games where you're 360 no-scoping and building a fucking tower as soon as someone hits you. They basically got ADHD brain, you know? They've got TikTok brain. But someone who's played a lot of RTSs and is capable of just, you know, sitting back and watching the game unfold, I'm very satisfied with the gameplay loop of this game and the feel of it. Sure, you walk a little slow, but that only makes the hits more impactful when they happen. Considering this is a new game, I have a lot to say about it because as I said, I just really like the game, and I would really just, it'd be such a shame to lose it.